Hi, I hope all is well with you and that you're staying safe. There's an incredible Agadata that's brought down in Masechet Yevamos. It tells us of Rabbi Gamliel, who was traveling by boat, when he noticed another boat near him that was sinking. And he saw that Rabbi Akiva was on that boat and that he was about to drown. Rabbi Gamliel was overwhelmed with mourning, realizing the terrible tragedy that Klal Yisrael was going to go through with the loss of Rabbi Akiva. When Rabbi Gamliel arrived at shore, he went to the local shul where he saw Rabbi Akiva giving a lecture, and he was astonished. And after Rabbi Akiva finished, he went over to him and said, Akiva, he said, I saw you drowning. How did you save yourself? And Rabbi Akiva said, as I was drowning, a wooden plank from the ship passed me by, and I grabbed onto it. And whenever there was a wave, I ducked my head onto the water and continued that way until I reached land. It's an incredible story, very difficult to understand, but Maharal makes it very clear. And he says that the waves were an allusion to the Yetzer Hara. And Rabbi Gamliel noticed that Rabbi Akiva was being pulled by the Yetzer Hara, and he was being swept away in the sea of life with all the distractions that he encountered. And Rabbi Akiva answered him and he said, it's true. But when that started happening to me, I realized that my only hope was to grab onto the Torah. And that plank, that wooden plank, was a symbol of the Torah, because as we know, Eitz Chaim hi lama chazikim ba, and that's how I survived. This week's Parsha is Parshas Ki Teizei, and it starts off, Ki Teizei la milchama ala yavecha, when Klal Yisrael will go out to war against its enemies. And the Musar Sfarim say that in addition to dealing with real war, physical war, it's also talking about the war of life that we have with the Yetzer Hara on a regular basis. Because as the Chovos HaLevavos teaches us, the Yetzer Hara is our greatest enemy. And this Gemara is teaching us that the only way to combat the Yetzer Hara is with Torah. Regardless of how we're spending our lives, whether we're spending our lives in the office, whether we're spending our lives in the kitchen, even if we're spending our lives teaching Torah, we have to connect to Torah. We have to learn on our own. We have to stay connected. We have to realize and appreciate that the only way to beat the Yetzer Hara is through Torah. Chazal teach us, Barasi Yetzer Hara, Barasi Torah Tavlin. The Rebbeinu Shalom says, I created the Yetzer Hara, but I also created Torah as an antidote. And as we approach Rosh Hashanah and we try to continue to move in a positive direction, the only way to do so is to continue to learn. Doesn't mean that we have to join a kollel, doesn't mean that we have to be learning 12 hours a day. Obviously, if a person could do that, it certainly would be great. But it means that we have to stay somewhat connected. And although the Yetzer Hara has created a remarkable device to defeat us, the internet, we can turn the tables on him and use it for positive learning in our life. And there's so much that we can learn on the internet, and I'm not encouraging anybody to get on the internet, although I guess if you're watching this, you are already on it. But there's so many Sfarim, there are hundreds of Sfarim, Parshas HaShavua, on Tefillah, on Musar, on Chumash, whatever subject the person is interested in, there is a sefer to learn. There is a lecture to hear. There's Torah anytime. There is the OU website that does a phenomenal job on Parshas HaShavua and on many, many subjects, Tanakh, Halacha, etc. There's Rabbi Schaefer's, the shmooze.com. There are so many different available ways for a person to continue to learn Torah. And if we want to move in a positive direction, the only way, as Chazal teach us, is to stay connected to Torah. Even if we start off with 5 minutes a day, or 10 minutes a day, it keeps us connected. And if we show the Ribono Shel Olam that we are interested in moving in a positive direction, and that we are connecting ourselves to Eitz Chaim Hi, Lama Chazikim Ba, to the Torah, then Mitzvah Hashem, He will accept our tefillos, and He will give us the siyata d'shmaya to become those individuals that we so much would like to become. Have a wonderful day and a meaningful Shabbos.